Hello everyone and welcome to Katharine's Creatures, episode 5. This series is a series where we get to talk a little bit about mythology, creatures, entities, all sorts of beast beings and the like from myths from all around the world. I will always say that I'm not a linguist, so if I ever butcher any names, it's not intentional and I do apologize. But today our topic will be on the Brownie, also sometimes called the Brownie, and some of its close kin. Now, the Brownie is a household spirit from Scotland, Scottish folklore. And think of it as almost like a fairy-like entity who comes out at night and takes care of some of your chores in the house, as well as some of the farm work in the fields. So a lot of people like having these entities around. In return, the farmer, the family, would leave an offering of a bowl of milk or cream out for the Brownie, and usually positioning it near the hearth. Hearth, throughout a lot of mythos, represents the household and the family as a whole, so there's kind of that underlying theme. But they would give the offering, the Brownie would come out, accept the milk or cream, and then in return do the chores. Love it. Now, if ever angered, the Brownie would transform into something called a Boggart. And the Boggart are more maleficent kind of creatures. They cause different household items to disappear. So all those socks that you're missing, you could blame it on the Boggart. They sour milk, cause dogs to go lame, and they can even do horrible things all the way up to abducting children. So we try to keep the Brownie as happy as possible. Now, the description of brownies vary wildly. Sometimes they're talked about as having brown skin, sometimes described as very ugly features in the face, or entirely covered in hair. They used to be, in their oldest lore, tall as a man, maybe even taller, but since then have kind of been minimalized down to a small, wizened, human-like form. Now, if you ever wanted to get rid of a Brownie, intentionally or not, the two things that could occur would be gifting, again, intentionally or not, an item of clothing to the Brownie. If that ever happens, the Brownie will leave and never return. And the same goes for if you ever tried to baptize a Brownie. They would leave, never come back. So if you want to keep them, don't give them clothing. Who knew? Now, if it kind of sounds a little familiar to some of you, that idea, hold that thought. We'll get to that in just a moment, because the last kind of entity in this family I want to talk about is called the Dobby. Again, some of you may recognize this name before from a character in the Harry Potter series, and this is why. The Dobby actually is from northern England and the borders kind of around that area. They, again, are these kind of fairy-like household spirits, very similar to the Brownie. Dobbies, though, in general, are less helpful. They are described a lot of times as being lazy, gullible, and, for lack of a nicer term, just stupid. But even still, they're not mean creatures. They help you with the chores. They're, usually viewed pretty positively. If a Dobby never attaches to a household or a family, then they can become this malevolent form and, again, do all kind of wickedness in and around the area and wreak havoc. But for the most part, Dobbies, like the Brownies, are helpful household spirits in their own way. And again, you can, if you've read Harry Potter and you've heard of the house elf, the Brownie and the Brownie is the inspiration that kind of kicked off that idea for J.K. Rowling. And of course, Dobby, the character, was pulled from the entity's, the Dobby's name. So, fun facts for you Harry Potter fans out there. If you have any questions for me about this mythology or any other lore, message me in the comments below or through my social media. And until next time, Skål.